Hello and welcome to Region Lock. Back in 1986, Nintendo created a hardware expansion for the Famicom known as the Famicom Disk System, or FDS for short. This attachment allowed developers to create games using a higher capacity floppy diskette. The FDS never saw release outside of Japan, and as a result, several of its titles were never taken overseas. One of these titles was the mysterious Murasame Castle. The game was prominent enough for Nintendo to make a minigame based on it for the Wii U launch title Nintendo Land. It was eventually released to the international market on the 3DS Virtual Console in 2014. But this was 28 years after the game's initial release, and to little fanfare. So why did it take so long for Murasame Castle to reach the West, and why is it still so obscure? First, let's take a look at the game. The game's plot takes place during the Edo period of Japan. During a stormy night, an alien falls from the sky and infiltrates a castle known as Murasame Castle. Within the castle is a stone statue called Murasame, which the alien then brings to life. From there, the alien's power then extends to the 4 other neighbouring castles and takes over their lords. Each lord gains a sphere that summons ninjas and monsters which are used to attack the villagers. The player assumes the role of Takamaru, an apprentice samurai who is sent to investigate the strange occurrences. Takamaru must defeat the lord of each castle before taking on the alien that powers them. Work started on the game when the team behind Zelda experimented with their engine. Their experiments led them to increasing the action elements of the game by adding more speed to the engine. Murasame was the end result of these experiments. The gameplay is similar to that of the original Legend of Zelda, featuring a top-down angle with no screen scrolling. In contrast to Zelda, however, Murasame Castle follows a linear path and has time limits for each level. Areas are made up of 2 sections: the approach from outside the castle, followed by the infiltration of said castle. The RPG elements from Zelda are also removed. While the game features levels that lead onto one another, the levels themselves have branching paths that can lead to dead ends and loops through the stage. Takamaru has 2 weapons at his disposal: his katana and an infinite supply of throwing knives. The katana, used for close range attacks, can also deflect various projectiles. The throwing knives can be upgraded through various collectibles found throughout the game, but these are lost whenever the player loses a life. Collectibles include fireballs and a bladed wheel. Takamaru also has additional skills that can be used, such as an invisibility cloak that makes him invulnerable for a short period of time, and a lightning bolt that kills all enemies on screen. The player is also able to obtain lives by rescuing damsels found within the game's castles. Sometimes, however, these can be demons in disguise, ready to ambush the player. The demon will follow them throughout the castle from screen to screen and will only stop if killed. The game is considered to be incredibly difficult due to the high volume of enemies that appear on screen at any one time, their speed of attack, and the fact that the demons can appear when attempting to gain extra lives. The enemies are primarily made up of figures from Japanese culture, such as feudal ninjas, samurai, Hanya, and Tengu. While the game lets players attack enemies using the katana at close range, once they reach the second level, this becomes a relatively meaningless approach, as several enemies will explode when they're hit. Additionally, enemies will start to throw fireballs at the player, which the katana is unable to deflect. The spike in difficulty between each level is considered to be extreme, as it only takes 3 hits before a life is lost. Several enemies that can only be hit with precise timing of a ranged attack begin to appear within the castles. This also has to be done while dodging a large number of projectiles being thrown at you. Enemies will often change patterns on each playthrough, making memorization a tricky if not impossible task. The reason for the game's lack of initial localization has never been officially stated. Many believe the game's intrinsic Japanese theming made Nintendo question if it would appeal to Western players. It's also possible that Nintendo simply considered the game too difficult for non-Japanese players. The title was also delayed during development, originally intending to be released alongside the Famicom Disk System and Zelda. Some reason that this impacted the game's sales. Murasame Castle sold roughly 610,000 units in Japan, but they only had about 150,000 downloads via disc writer kiosks. These kiosks enabled users to overwrite their Famicom discs with new games for a cheaper price. Nintendo might have used the kiosks to gauge player interest, as Murasame Castle had some of the lowest rewrite figures on the system. For comparison, the Japanese Super Mario Bros. 2, known as the Lost Levels in the West, had over 1 million rewrites from kiosks. To get a better idea of what might have happened, we asked an ex-localizer for their opinion on the game. They told us the lack of localization was probably due to the game's Japanese theme. In the late 1980s, the US market didn't buy overly Japanese titles enough to justify localizing them. However, the market shifted over the years, allowing for online distribution, and digital publishing costs are much lower than they are for physical media. And with eShop accessibility, there's a greater chance of niche titles being released digitally at reduced cost and risk for the publisher. Another example of this can be seen with Fatal Frame: Maiden of Black Water, which was originally a Japan exclusive. Fan outcries showed Nintendo that there was a big enough audience to justify a digital release, and the game was brought to America via Wii U eShop. Despite the game being absent in the West for decades, Murasame's legacy can be seen in many titles published in America. The game's first appearance outside of Japan was in Pikmin 2 for the Nintendo GameCube. The Cosmic Archive treasure is in fact a copy of the Murasame Castle disc. The game also has a few connections with the Super Smash Bros. Series. Not only does Takamaru make an appearance as a sticker, but the Murasame's musical theme can be unlocked for the classic Mario Bros. Stage in Brawl. You may also know that Takamaru makes an appearance within Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS as an assist trophy, but he was actually considered for the role of a playable fighter. This idea dates back to the development of Super Smash Bros. Melee. It's believed that Takamaru's inclusion in the game was scrapped because of his relatively obscure status. Sakurai stated that he was considered again for the fourth game in the series, but was again put aside because of lack of popularity. Takamaru's appearance later inspired the design of the Mii sword fighters, including his haircut and outfit. Japan has also seen two more references that didn't make it to the West. Another Japan exclusive title, which we'll explore in a later video, is Captain Rainbow. Takamaru takes on a very prominent role within the game, appearing as an anxious young man who gets nervous around women. WarioWare DIY also includes a micro game exclusive to Japan. The player has to simply avoid shurikens from several ninjas while assuming the role of Takamaru. This was replaced in the West with a micro game based on Pikmin that plays entirely differently. The Wii exclusive Samurai Warriors 3 features a large reference to Murasame with the inclusion of an extra mode titled Murasame Castle Mode. This gives the users the option of playing as Takamaru. By completing more of the main game, it also becomes possible to play as Takamaru within the game's other modes. One of the more obscure pieces of media to come from the game was a TV drama produced in December of 1986. It was an adaptation of the game starring the cast of the all-girl pop group Onyanko Club for the TV series Monday Dramaland. The series was known for its adaptations of popular culture. Though clips of the episode have proven difficult to find, the episode was released on a DVD box set in Japan. Since you're watching this video, you're probably into video games. If so, consider subscribing to Loot Crate's new service, Loot Gaming. Loot Gaming is a monthly subscription service that delivers a box of gaming goodies right to your door. The crates have a different theme for each month, and all the loot relates to that theme. October's theme is Rumble, and it's packed with merch from Overwatch, Zelda, Titanfall 2, Sonic the Hedgehog, and more. A subscription is less than $35 per month, and the crates are guaranteed to have a value of $60 or more. And Loot Crate is offering Did You Know Gaming viewers 10% off for your subscription. So if you like original gaming collectibles and want to support Region Locked and Did You Know Gaming, head over to lootcrate.com/DYKG3 and enter the code DYKG3 for 10% off any new subscription. You can get there by clicking the link below. Did you know that there's a Pokemon game on the Game Boy that was only ever released in Japan? If you're interested in seeing more of Region Locked, why not take a look at our previous episode by clicking the window on screen? Don't forget to subscribe to Did You Know Gaming for more facts and trivia. My name is Greg, and this has been Region Locked. And why not check out our Twitch channel with the annotation on screen now, where we'll be playing Murasame Castle.